Welcome to Japan. It's stage 5 of the MyWhoosh $1,000,000 Championships. We're on the very mountainous Mount Fuji today, and if you watched the previous video, you'll know how tired and exhausted I am. Yesterday's stage was tough. How would we go today? Let's take you to the action to find out. So, taking you to the first mountain. Now, why do we have to do a mountain before the mountain? So it's about 15 minutes here. Teammate Noren is off the front, trying to get a little bit of a head start, so he can settle into a nice group without requiring that same level of punch on the climb. Now, I wanted to stay pretty steady today and hopefully find a group. As I said, I've been sleeping 3 to 4 hours a night, and I'm pretty exhausted by this point. So, as we kick it up and get started on the climb today, I'll be taking you through various sections. So we'll jump forward a bit. So keep your eyes on probably the distance indicator up on the screen there, so you can kind of see where we're at on the route. So early stages up into about 415, 400 watts. Now, 15-minute effort, for me, I was thinking that if I could average somewhere around 6 watts a kilo, that would be around the money, hopefully put me with a good group, knowing that Mount Fuji's to come. But as usual, the pack started off pretty hard, and I do get distanced fairly early on. There were a couple of groups on the road here, and they do come together. I am somewhat questioning my decision here. Would I have been able to stick with the next group up the road? But if I did that, would I have had anything left for the Dragon's Nest comb in the middle, or even Mount Fuji at the end? I'm not too sure. As you can see here, I'm still drafting. I'm with Neil Freyet, but the pack is starting to stretch away. I'm in this view today. I just wanted a bit of a change, maybe something to freshen up the mind, the motivation, after a pretty rough stage in Zurich. I was hoping to not be needed for our team tonight as part of the three riders, but as you'll see soon, I am needed today, which I didn't know at the time, but we have a pretty good battle on our hands with the Venga boys for fourth place here, and they currently have 4 riders up in the group ahead on the road. So, and we've got two plus Noren, who's been at it from the start. Taking a little further on there, you can see here I'm settling with Ruben, and we're catching Neil Freyet, who has exerted himself a bit much on the early stages. These are the kind of guys I was thinking that I'd probably be near after the Zurich stage. They kind of came at me from behind and finished strongly. I thought we might be able to work together. Thrall's there. Climbing pretty well, and then Noren has now been distanced from the group, unfortunately. So our team's rider 3 is going to be in this group here, and that is behind the Venga boys, who still have 4 up the road. Now, I end up doing this climb at 370 watts. I think it would have required probably 385 to get up with the group up the road. I think they ended up about a minute 5 up the road. Now, I don't know, like, I was contained for 370 watts, but it was still solid. I don't know if I had the 385 in me and what that would have done. So I am questioning sitting back now, but I'm really happy with the way that I boxed on this ride. Now, the 5 of us descend together. I found the dynamic of the descending quite difficult, actually. I'm quite a bit lighter than all of these guys, but just the gaps open really quickly, and it's hard to coordinate, I'd say, with the guys. But we came down the bottom of the descent eventually, and I think we're about a kilometre behind on the road. The second group, they unfortunately unfortunately for us, they catch the lead group. And so the Venga boys are able to kind of sit in the draft up ahead with the lead group, whereas we've got 5, and we do some turns, but it's, as I said, it's hard to coordinate. Whenever someone would go to the front, the gap would open up, and then people would chase, and yeah, it wasn't super smooth. Johan, and then eventually, I think they realised. So we're at 26K that Johan and I actually have incentive to chase, whereas they don't. So we're kind of doing some turns at this stage before the Dragon's Nest, and that there's just not much cooperation, which is completely understandable given the situation on the road. Like we did the opposite yesterday in the Zurich race, when the team stuff was in our favour. But I'm kind of thinking at this point, as Johan goes to the front, I'm kind of hoping that I'm not required. So then I start to think, okay, shit, I should be like doing more turns on the front, even though I'm light, to try and set Norin up for the Fuji climb with some legs left. That's what I start to think at about this stage. So I go from kind of primarily doing about my share to doing more than my share pretty soon on in the races. This is a typical example of a gap opening up and then having to work really hard to close it, just because the dynamics are a little bit difficult to get used to in like different group sizes. It's pretty easy in a big group, but yeah, small groups are hard to coordinate. As we head into the 27-kilometer mark, and I'll head to the front now for another turn of work, ended up being PB powers for this race for like an hour 45. So like 90 minutes to an hour 45 period. So boxed on pretty well. You can see my heart rate's really quite low there. So I am contained. The heart and the legs aren't feeling like on par at this point. The heart rate's contained, but the legs are kind of like limited by what they can do as we head a little bit further down the road now. Again, another example of one of these moments where it's hard to coordinate. Thralls on the front. Our speed's quite high. I've got to kick really hard to get into Thrall's wheel because he's got a lot of raw watts. You can see there a little bit, 1.1 to 1.1k behind still. So this isn't great given we've only got a 4-minute lead on the Venga boys, with so much racing left to go. As we head into the Dragon's Nest, and I'd been on the front a bit beforehand. Thrall is climbing really well today, so he heads to the front and actually distances me. Ruben's up there as well. At this point, like it's hard. I'm not all out, but like Johan's there. I feel like I don't know. I feel like there's not that much point to push like over and above here, given what's still to come. So I'm kind of steady there and making sure that Johan and I are together, because like I'm getting a sense here that I may be climbing a little bit better, which unfortunately, like with 3 to count, I kind of don't want that. But yeah, we stay together and then work our way back up on the descent and into the next flatter section, because those guys don't have much incentive to work together at this point. Really, I would say. We catch up with a couple of Category 2 riders on the road, so that probably helps our descending speed a tiny bit, I would say. But again, I was watching the stream and I saw that the entire lead pack stayed together on the Dragon's Nest. I think they did about 6.7 for 5 minutes, which that would have been a really hard effort for me. That would have definitely been an all-out kind of effort, and I don't know. I don't know how that would have went leading into Fuji. So in hindsight, maybe this was the right thing, even though I spend the next hour basically on the front for the entire time. So here we go. We have caught one of the riders from the lead pack. So here is Kroll. Rode with him a lot yesterday and rode with him a lot today in the end. Give him a wave. How are you, mate? And he's a Venga boy, and no surprises here. He doesn't do any work, which is completely understandable and fine. they've still got the 3 guys up the road. There are a few little climbs on the way into Fuji. You can't really see them on the mini map, but they certainly exist. So just trying to keep it steady around the 6 watt per kilo mark. There's a lot. We're basically doing an hour time trial at this stage. So there's a lot of racing left to come. I'm hoping that Noren is feeling okay in the wheels. As we are now back on the flat again, like I pretty much led like say 90+% of the time from here, and when I wasn't leading, I basically was just having a rest while the pack were rolling through for a little bit. But it gave me mentally gave me something to focus on and kind of keep me invested and in the game, which I think I probably needed given how exhausted I am. Like just the lack of sleep. I just wish I could sleep better and wake up a bit later as we head up another one of these Kickrs. Again, so like I had to kick up into some watts I wasn't really comfortable with, given that I'd been leading into the Kickr. But we're all safe here, and it's all good as we head into the KOM. I'll skip to various sections, but at this stage, I was just trying to hold a steady effort, knowing that I'd been doing a steady effort for basically the last hour already. Anyway, I was watching the coverage as well, and Bjorn was about a minute up the road. A fantastic move by him to get a bit of a head start leading into the climb. And Hayden, on his quest for the white jersey, was right in the thick of it after some worrying early moments for him on the course. But he's a strong fella, and he got it together big time in the second half of the race. So someone picks up the pace a bit, and I'm kind of a bit like, I don't know about this. I just want to kind of ride to my effort, keep things steady. But then I'm like, nah, you're fine, mate. Like even at 12k an hour, there might be some saving from a little bit of draft, and I kick it back up. At this stage, my energy was good. Like it all felt pretty contained. Like 153 heart rate is like it's not particularly high, but as I said, the legs kind of have a bit of a limit at this stage, so I'm keeping the watts around somewhere that I can kind of sustain, thinking to myself that it's going to be about 2 hours on the clock by the time we finish. Now, this is when Noren unfortunately drops off, and that's when I know. Even though I was planning to continue to ride like nice and steady the whole time anyway, this is where I definitely know that my time is now going to count, and that things are kind of going to be close between us and the Venga boys, depending on how everyone climbs. Now, I could see by this leaderboard, the Tokyo Sprint, that Panizza and co went through that point 2 minutes 16 ahead, like 40 minutes ago. So, and I know that like say Bjorn matched one of their climbers and Hayden matched one of their climbers, I've only got 4 minutes basically to compare to their third guy that's up the road, and all 3 of those guys are great climbers: Panizza, Pedersen, and Linden. So like I'm really kind of doing my best to try and limit the losses within that 4 minutes. Not that the prize money is much different between 4th and 5th. Like we're all going to come home with a nice little payday at the end of it, but still it's a good battle that we've been in the last few days, and I'm boxing on pretty well. As you can see, the rider list on the right hand side, Kroll is just sitting on me, has been for a long time, and completely understandable as well. So now we are 61.6k in, 5 kilometers to go. We've kind of rode past Freyet. Thrall is having a really good climb. He was climbing well today, about 18 seconds up the road at this stage. As I'm starting to get a bit more into like the 350 type range, 345, whereas previously it was more in the 330 to 340 range. I'm essentially able to just slowly ramp it up and up and up, which given that basically from the 12k mark, for 90% of the time I've been on the gas. Given how tired I am, I'm happy with that. Another couple of K down the track, and yeah, so the power's up into 350, 360. Um, I'm getting a sense of fatigue now, but at the same time, I feel like I can sustain the effort pretty well. Heart rate's still in the 150s, so like that's not the limiting factor at all. Um, in that regard, this climb is steep. There's so many, like the middle part, I feel like it would average like 13, 14%. Wasn't nice seeing guys descending that had already finished the race in other categories, as you still had quite a bit of racing to go. But is what it is. I was tuning into the live stream a little bit because at that stage I was just I was in the zone, kind of steady, and that was kind of nice to kind of have something to keep the eyes on. Down into the last 2K now. You can see the gaps on the right hand side. I'm now distance Kroll a little bit. Thrall's quite a bit up the road, but I do start to make some inroads on him in the final stages. It's about now that I know at the 157 mark, I know that the top guys are finished. I know that basically Lyndon and Hayden, I think they're about 15 seconds apart, as well as like Bjorn and their second rider were about 15 seconds apart the other direction. And their third rider also finished in that pack there. So I kind of knew what I needed to do at this stage, time-wise, and I'm just trying to limit the losses. I'm able to find something when I actually search for it here. I think because I didn't go into the red zone at any stage in the race, like I was able to do a really steady, sustained effort compared to Zurich, where I just kind of lost the ability to keep punching after going over so early on. So we're up over 380 watts now, finishing off pretty strong. Just as we start to come into the finish, we're now up over to 400 watts. So yeah, I am able to kind of pick it up. Maybe should have worked a bit harder sooner. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. But anyway, there's the rest day today for me, which it's going to be much needed. More importantly, it's a rest night. So hopefully I can go to bed early and get some sleep. Then we're into the individual time trial. Given my weight, and it's probably about 55 minutes long, maybe 50. I'm not expecting big things. Hopefully I won't be counted for the team, given our other riders' strengths. But never know. I'm hoping to do a good time trial still. Hayden is going to be so good at the time trial. As we come across the com banner, 500 to go, and we start to kick it up to the finish. Starting to catch Thrall. He's got a bit left as well. It's quite a steep little drag up to the finish. Then we go to Colombia for the final stage, so hopefully can have a decent one there. I'll show you all the results in a moment once we come through. But a lot of guys have come in around the 2 hour mark, 2 hours 1. So I've done all right. I think from where I was at the 16-kilometer mark of this race to only lose such little time was a fair result, especially given the mindset, the leg set coming off the past few days. We'll take that, and I'm glad that I could kind of bounce back with a decent one and actually count for the team, which I didn't expect today. I think in the end I did power PBs, for like a big chunk of time from like the 90 to 2 hour range there. So yeah, what more can you do? I know I'm probably capable of more watts, but still you take that. There's the results there. So have a look at some of those 20-minute numbers of them guys, all up around 7 watts a kilo for 20 for the podium getters. That's not bad going at the end of a race there. All the guys you'd expect in the hunt there. So yeah, I finished 21st on the stage. Not disappointed with that after the stage in Zurich. There's the GC for people interested. Obviously, my place is no longer important or anything. It's all about the team for us now. But there's the standings anyway. With the 2 final stages to come, Farmwatts Squad. So after the battle with the Venga boys, which is still on, we still have 2 minutes and 10 seconds heading into that. Hopefully Hayden can be our saviour and keep us in that good spot there. Fourth would, we'd certainly take fourth at this stage. And then I'll show you the KOM and the sprint jersey points for anyone that's been following along with the series. There's the KOM. It's all wrapped up. There's the sprint. I think that's wrapped up. All right. See you in a couple of days for the time trial. Time for some sleep. Cheers.